Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to this tutorial series with Fly Me simulations for Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. So today we are on part 1, which is how to file a flight plan and also how to create a flight plan on the VATSIM network. So this is going to be part of our Ultimate VATSIM Guide series, and basically we're going to go through each aspect of dealing with VATSIM. For those of you that are new to Flight Sim, especially since the new Sim's been out, there's quite a lot of new customers. However, just to point out, this is not supported on Xbox. This is only supported on the PC version. So just to give you a bit of an idea of our setup. So I use Navigraph charts and also run the SimBrief alongside the Fenix. So let me just go straight into it, and we're going to need to initially go to the internet browser. So for SimBrief, you don't have to pay for it. It is free of charge. However, obviously Navigraph, you do have to pay for it. It's only a small subscription. I think it's between £5 and £10 a month. It's not a huge subscription, and it is an absolutely amazing piece of software, which you'll see in some of our upcoming videos with how to read charts and how to basically import the flight plan into Navigraph charts. So you type in SimBrief into Google, and it's the top option that we see. So this is what SimBrief looks like generally. We want to head to the dispatch system. And if it's the first time you're using it, you're not going to have any airframes set up. So first of all, what we will do is we'll go over to our airframes. So you'll see down on this left side here, we've got saved airframes. And as you can see, I've got numerous airframes here. So these are Fenix airframes, these four here. Ranging from the, well, they're all out actually, ranging from the A320 to the 21. So how you do it, you click new airframe, and it looks really daunting at first. So what you need to first establish is what Fenix aircraft or what plane you're flying. So let's just say I want a A319. So we type A319 in there, and we click select. So it will give you some engine options. It may not be the right engine options. However, you click select, and then we'll go down, and you'll notice that we have both toolless and Fenix simulation. So obviously these are the Fenix ones that we're after here. And basically all you do is you select them, click select airframe, and click save airframe, and it'll add it in. Obviously, if you do decide to make any changes, I wouldn't suggest making any changes because these are purely designed to work with the Fenix setup, and I wouldn't fiddle with it personally. You can get other aircraft like PMDG. You can get quite a few different aircraft, to be fair. Anyway, so let's go on to flight planning. So I'm doing a flight today. You can join me on the stream around lunchtime today. So we're going to click on new flight, and this looks a little bit daunting at first. So first of all, we want the airline options. So I'm going to be flying with Jet2, so you're using the CAO code for the airline. So for EasyJet, it'll be EZY. British Airways, it'll be BAW, and AXS is the Jet2 one. I'm using 7874 as our flight number, so that's just like the general flight number you would have when you go on a flight. That's not necessarily your call sign though, so your call sign is very different. So next thing we want to do is to pop our departure airport in. So if you don't know the ICAO code for the airport, that's absolutely fine with this. You just click on the search tab, click search for an airport. So I'm going to type East Midlands, and it will come with the ICAO code, and just click select. Works absolutely beautifully. And then on the arrival, I know it, so it's Lowy, which is Innsbruck. You can also do the same here, and that will tell me it's Innsbruck. There we go, and that's where we're flying to today. So the alternate I tend to leave as auto unless you want to choose a specific alternate and let the system work it out for itself. Next thing you want to do is change the departure time. So I'm departing today at 12:20 is the scheduled departure time. Hopefully it'll be a little bit before that, but just because there's a little bit of extra time. So 12:20 on today's date. And that way it will look at the weather for around that time of the day. Next thing is our aircraft type. So you don't actually need to press anything on this side, on the aircraft type on that. You want to go to airframe. So if you just pre-filled an airframe, so I'm going in the 321 today, and it will be the CFM option, I would imagine. So there we go. We'll select the CFM option. And we don't need to touch anything with this climb profile. The only thing we need to touch in this section here is our ATC call sign. So I'm going to go with Chanex 9S7. So, and if you need to find out what the call signs actually are, so you'll have EXS 97, which is the airline's call sign. However, obviously that's not abbreviated to what you say to ATC. So for example, it'd be BA38. Tragically, it crashed on the runway, but that would be a Speedbird call sign, for example. However, you can Google that quite easily. Just type in call signs for call signs versus flight numbers, and you'll be fine there. So we don't need to do anything with the FIN number or the CCAL code. That can all stay as it is. So next we'll move further down. So you can select your operational flight plan layout. So I tend to stick to the same one. So I tend to stick to EasyJet. There's a Ryanair one. There's a few different ones. They then generally follow the similar sort of pattern. They don't change horrifically much, but there is different options like the Speedbird. There is also the Lido version as well. So I tend to stick with the EasyJet version just because I know where everything is on it and it's easy to read. The next thing it will say is about air rack, current air rack. So air rack is your cycle. So if you pay for a Navigraph subscription, you'll need to update every month your air rack cycles. So mine will actually be due tomorrow. No, sorry, Sunday it will be due. And yeah, so you don't need to touch anything with that really. We can just leave it exactly as it is. So let's move further down. So it'll look at things like units. So what do you want your units in? Taxi time. So generally it'll pre-fill the taxi time based on the airport. Typically it's 20 minutes in, out, and 8 minutes in. Obviously, if you're at an airport that's busier or there's a VATSIM event on, then I would suggest increasing this time, just because it will affect how much fuel is on board the aircraft. Next thing you want is flight rules. So you have the option to VFR and IFR. Typically, with commercial airliner flying, it is IFR. Very rarely fly VFR unless you're in like a little Cessna or something. Going further down, there is the scheduled block time, which is 2 hours. So we don't need to touch anything with that. And departure runway 27. So this drags all this down from live data. We don't need to touch anything with that, and the live data will stay there. The altitude, so this will be a cruise altitude that will also automatically calculate depending on the performance. Passengers, you can obviously select how many passengers you want up to the value of 230 with the 321, and that will change obviously depending on which aircraft type you are on, but that will automatically fill out, and typically you don't need to do anything else with it. Like I say, it looks really scary, this form, but it's really not. When you start going through it, it's really straightforward. So next thing you'll notice is our route. So as you see below, there's a load of suggested routes below. Typically, I very rarely touch anything to do with this. Sometimes I will if it doesn't look quite right, and if I feel like we need a different route. But it will all depend on sort of the weather and current traffic and restrictions in the area. So I tend to just leave it as it is. You can analyze the route and it'll tell you how efficient it is as well. So it's 646 nautical miles, and basically you can find SIDS and stars if you wish to find SIDS and stars. They're already in there anyway, so that's your star and that is your SID for departure. So going further down, you also have other options like alternate airports, route finding. So typically, so it's going to be EDDM. I'm trying to think what airport that actually is in real life. So that is Munich Airport. So that is our alternate airport if we needed to divert. So typically, you never really need to touch this. It will calculate this automatically. Same with the ETOPS scenarios, which is to do with flying over water. So ETOPS basically tries to allows for additional fuel for when you're flying over sea. That's my understanding of ETOPS anyway. It may be slightly incorrect with that, but it's all to do with the amount of fuel and threshold time. So historical weather, I always have it disabled because I want live weather, but you can also use other weather parameters as well. So once that's all done, and like I say, most of it's pre-filled for you, so it's nice and straightforward, you literally just click generate flight. It'll sit there and process for 30 seconds or so, probably not even 30 seconds today. Depends obviously how long the flight is. The longer the flight is, the longer it will take. And then it will basically compute all this. So it will give you a few options. So it will tell you what your flight number is, your call sign, departure, absolutely everything on here. And you don't really need to worry about this too much, if I'm honest. So you can also view it as a PDF. So if you wanted to print it as a PDF. So this is what an operational flight plan actually looks like. As you can see down here, we've got all our weights and fuel amounts. This is all your total fuel. It's broken down as well. On the right hand side here, this is all about efficiency and zero fuel weights and trip wins and your flight number. So typically it won't tell you exactly what your call sign is, but that is your flight number on here is actually your call sign. It'll talk about your alternate and all the other remarks, and then obviously it has your route further down here. It also gives you boxes, so if you do print it, that you can pop the ATIS in there, you can pop your clearance in there, and your squawk code, which makes things nice and easy, especially if you're new to flight sim. You just can scribble bits down, and obviously I will explain in another video what you actually do with them as we go forward. So further down, this is more detailed about the waypoints of each bit of the flight plan. So it will talk about your distance, so how many miles you're flying, which takes how many is left. This is part of your climb procedure. It will talk about winds, so that's the winds at that waypoint. It talks about loads of stuff, and if I'm honest, I don't understand a lot of it, but you don't need to understand every single aspect of it, but it is helpful if you do know every aspect of it. As you go further down, it's got more things about winds as well and weather, and it will also give you some further information about what runways are suggested, what your flex temperature with bleeds on, bleeds off, and your V1 speeds as well are all computed within that. Typically, I don't tend to use this because we don't really need it, and the Fenix calculates it automatically using this data. So as you go further down, it's more NOTAM information. So if there's any bulletins about where you're flying to, they'll appear on there. Typically, I don't tend to look at them too much because NOTAMs don't tend to apply so much with VATSIM. Can do sometimes, it depends how realistic things are being. And as we go right down to the bottom, you will, like I say, there's pages and pages of this. You only need probably the first 4 pages, I would say. And this shows you your actual route across, shows you part with the winds, there's high pressure and low pressure, etc. Same thing here. There's loads of different bits of information about different winds at different flight levels. If I'm honest, I don't understand 100% of it, but you don't, like I say, you don't need to know every single aspect of it. So we can close the PDF and go back to here. So most importantly is that we need to pre-file it with VATSIM. So as you can see at the top here, there's an option for pre-file. So we click on that, and it will bring us further down, and it will give us loads of options down the bottom. So we can use IVEA, which is obviously the other version of VATSIM, like the other counterpart. There's say intentions, there's Pilot Edge, there's a few ones. So obviously we want the VATSIM network, so we click pre-file, and it will launch a new tab. And then the next thing is it will log me in. It may ask you to log in. I think it's because I've already logged in today. And basically we go down here, and everything, as you see, is pre-filled. So obviously if you did this manually, it would not pre-fill anything. So this will pre-fill all your route details. It will put all your remarks in. The only thing you need to double check is your voice rules. You can use text. I would typically use voice though. And also in the remarks, it tends to put TCAS SimBrief. You can also put what simulator you're using as well. So I quite often put MSFS 2024, just so they're aware of what platform we're using, because there's numerous platforms that you can use, such as Prepare 3D, obviously the previous version of Flight Sim, X-Plane. They are all compatible with VATSIM. So that's basically where we're at the moment. And then all you do is click File Flight Plan, and it will say at the top right here, thank you, enjoy your flight. So that is everything to do with filing a flight plan. So that will now appear on the network. And what's most important is when we open vPilot, which I'm just going to change on here at the moment. Just waiting for it to load, and I will get you a new option. So obviously this is a vPilot. So this is how vPilot appears when you first launch it. And there's a few options on this. So first of all, if it's the first time launching vPilot, which is basically what connects VATSIM to the simulator, there's a few options that you can do. So there's I normally jump straight to the settings if it's a first time install, and you have your VATSIM ID, so that's like your username and your VATSIM password, your full name, your home airport, so whatever airport you wish to mostly be based at, and the VATSIM server is now just selected automatically. We used to have different options on there, but that is different now. So on notifications, you can also make these show in the sim. I'm going to disable that. I noticed there's something in the previous video, and it's very, very annoying when it appears like that. So You can go to font, so if you want different size fonts to make it a bit bigger, you can. And then most importantly is our audio. As you can see, I'm obviously talking here at the moment. So you want your microphone input and your speaker output. And then most importantly as well, your push to talk button. So I tend to use my joystick, the back button on my joystick, for talking to ATC, which is good. So if you're flying manually or you're on final approach, you can still talk to them without having to look down and press key combinations. Next thing is model matching. It is highly important for realism that you do model matching. So it will do some form of model matching natively. However, like I've said in my previous tutorial video, I'd suggest that you have a look back at my VATSIM custom rules for model matching. So, and that will talk you through this. So obviously I have the FSLTL rules installed, which is why we get all the liveries that we do in the sim. With regards to performance, there's nothing really I need to say much with that. There's nothing else. It will do all the rest of this routinely on its own, and we'll just click apply and OK. So obviously you connect to the VATSIM network. We need to click connect, and then it's going to ask for our call sign. So I'm going to pre-fill this ready for later. So EXS97, and we are flying the A321. And it will let you select that, and then once you're in the sim, so at the minute, if you're not got the simulator launched, it will say it's connect. Please make sure the supported simulator is running. So once you've got the sim running, open that, and that is your connection to it, and it will list all the frequencies down the left hand side, which you then tune into your VFH1 or the COM1 option. Oh dear, that's not what meant to happen. So on the right hand side here, this is what is tuned currently, and obviously if you have COM2, I don't tend to use COM2 personally, but yeah, if you've got COM1 installed and that is what you've got tuned, that is what you'll hear. However, if you need to change frequency, obviously the list of frequencies will be down on this left hand side, which will become quite evident once you launch it. So you guys, hopefully that has cleared up a few things about how to file a flight plan. It was only meant to be about a 10-minute video. We've gone over a little bit to, well, we're at 17 minutes at the moment, but it is how it is sometimes, isn't it? So guys, thanks very much for watching, and we will see you in the next part of this tutorial series, and then we're probably going to look at actually connecting to the network and how we basically talk to ATC and what to expect from ATC. Along with that, we'll also be doing another video about Navigraph. So the Navigraph will be looking at how we import our charts into Navigraph. We can also do that into the sim as well, so we can show you a couple of way rounds of doing it. There's a few ways of displaying the charts really, so you can either do it within the Fenix and also with the Navigraph charts itself. Anyway guys, thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thanks very much for watching,